Let's talk about All-Star Weekend, man. We do this every single year. Everyone loses their mind over the competitiveness of the All-Star game and how boring All-Star Saturday is. Let's get into it. Let's really break down what's wrong with the All-Star Weekend. How can we improve it? Is there a way to even improve this? I hate the think pieces every All-Star Weekend. I really do. Like at the end of the day, All-Star Weekend is a success for the NBA because they make a bunch of money, and they got all these sponsors that they have for this event and stuff like that. But from the fan perspective, it's really failing, and I think that's what most people's gripe is. You've heard all these past 2 days since the event how many people hated the All-Star game. For one, I actually enjoy the All-Star game. Surprise, surprise, I really do. Because, it's the league's best players on the court all at the same time. And I understand what I'm going to get. Like, the All-Star game has been this way for the vast majority of the past 20 years. Like, it has not been a really competitive game in a long time. There's certain years, obviously, there are exceptions. 2022, when it was in Cleveland, was pretty competitive. The 2020 game, which was the first after Kobe's death, and they did that new format with the target scores and stuff. That was competitive. I don't know why they got rid of that style, because it seemed to, except for last season where it was kind of still pretty bad. It kind of ensured that, at least at the end of the quarters and in the fourth quarter, they played some defense. With this regular style, going back to East-West, it's kind of just all up to the players, which is why I don't understand why people are so angry about this. I get we want a great game, we want them to be competitive, but there's nothing to gain for these players playing in this game, and there's a lot to lose. There is the possibility they can get hurt. Everyone brings up, oh, no one's gotten really badly hurt in the All-Star game. Kobe broke his nose one time, but that didn't, I don't think, kept him out for any significant amount of time. But if you think back 10 years ago, 2014, the Olympics, they're having a blue-white scrimmage. Paul George breaks his leg in a scrimmage exhibition game just for fans. It was for fun. He breaks his leg. Who knows what could have happened to his career? Luckily, he was able to recover, come back, and he's had a great career since then. But something like that, even as freak as it sounds, that is something that's in the back of these players' minds. And it's changed the All-Star game since then. Before that, the All-Star game had been a little competitive, especially in the fourth quarter. It was always kind of just, going through the motions the first 3 quarters. It always has been. And then the fourth quarter, if it's close, they're going to play some defense. But ever since then, and because of just the trend of the game as well, trending to a lot more threes, less mid-range, less post-up guys, just more perimeter shots, this game has become just kind of a three-point shootout and a dunk line, and a dunk contest. What do you do to fix that? I don't know if there is a real fix that you can put into this game. Everyone's saying put an incentive, maybe money. These guys are the top earners in the league, these All-Stars. I don't think money, as much as they probably would like it, because who wouldn't want more money, right? They put money as the prize of the in-season tournament, and guys went hard for that. But I don't know if putting money for these players to play for would actually increase it, because they're going to get the money anyway for winning or losing. It's just more money at the end of the day. What other incentives can you put on this game? Everyone's bringing up the make it so that the winning conference gets home court in the NBA Finals. And everyone's referencing, oh, baseball did this. Baseball got rid of this rule because everyone hated the rule. It was bad. It's crazy to have something as important as home court in the NBA Finals decided by an exhibition game in February. So what do you do? What can you do? I think the only real answer is the players just have to take it upon themselves to say, you know what? Let's try. Let's try a little bit. We're not asking for game 7 of the NBA Finals, level defense, but just, what you would do in the summer when they play at the Rico Hines, or they play at the UCLA runs, or when they play in the Drew League, just play a little defense. I understand. They want to have fun, and I think that's, part of the problem. They're having fun doing this. There's a lot of obligations these players have over the weekend. This is supposed to be a break for them. It's a break for the vast majority of the league. But since they're good at their job, they have to work extra during their break. Imagine how you would feel. You work for a company, you're really good at that company, you're one of their top earners, one of their top workers, and they decide, we're going to have a week break where there's no work. And because you're good at your job, you still have to work during that week, and you have to do all these extra things that you probably don't want to do. You want to take the break. You want to, spend time with your family, go on vacation, do all these things. So I think we have to understand that perspective as well. Sure, there may be some entitlement from these players, but there's definitely a fan entitlement here too. They're still human, at the end of the day. They may not want to do this all the time, especially guys that have been here multiple times. I know it's the honor and the privilege to be an all-star, and it's definitely special that first time, maybe that second time. But for guys, the older guys, Kevin Durant, Curry, LeBron, guys of that ilk, even Tatum, who's been here, I think 5 times, it probably gets old. You gotta think about this. It probably gets a little old, and it becomes a lot more of a chore than it does, something they really want to do. Now, what do you do with that mindset? I don't know. How is there a fix to this? There's been reports that, former players are going to the locker room, Iguodala, Bird, Irving, Dr. J, that they were going and trying to make sure that this was a competitive game, and what we got wasn't a competitive game. They shot 163 threes or 68 threes, 168, just a ridiculous number. The East All-Stars scored over 200 points. That was the first time that ever happened. So it's obviously a bad look for the NBA right now. This is their biggest opportunity post Super Bowl to get everyone to tune into the NBA and tune into the home stretch of the NBA season as we head into the playoffs over the next few months. This was not a good All-Star weekend. It just wasn't. I don't think having it in Indianapolis helped. When you have this in a bigger city, and I'm not trying to say only have this in big markets, but I think there is a difference when the All-Star game is in New York or in LA or maybe in Houston or Atlanta, or in like Miami. I think there's a difference when you have it in those places and then when you have it in Cleveland or you have it in Utah or someplace like that. I think there is a difference there. So there's a lot of things going on with this. But I think there's another thing that I want to get to about this. I think there's a larger issue here than just saying the All-Star game is not great and that All-Star weekend is not as entertaining as it used to be, or at least we think it used to be. The NBA has a really big problem with how the national media is allowed to cover the sport. The NBA is covered unlike any other of the major sports in America, in which it is allowed and openly encouraged to demean, belittle, and basically just trash everything about the league. That has become the NBA discourse. Everything is putting someone down to uplift someone else, continuing to say that this is not as good as it used to be. We have to let go of the nostalgia. I understand that to a lot of these people who cover the league, they came up during maybe the 80s or the 90s or early 2000s. Let go of your perception of what the NBA should be and accept what it is. Now, accepting what it is doesn't mean you don't try to fix it. It doesn't mean you just love it blindly, but stop constantly comparing it to a previous iteration of the league. I don't understand why we do this. A lot of it has to do with the LeBron MJ stuff, that we, instead of just putting LeBron versus MJ, we've taken the entire league as a whole and compared it to what it was in the 90s. The NBA is different now than it was in the 90s. We have to work with this league, try to encourage it by also trying to uplift it and trying to get better. Constantly trashing it, the players see this. They understand. They have made everything in this league look bad compared to how it used to be. They've made everything in this league meaningless unless you win a title at the end, and that's all product of the LeBron MJ debate. It's an entire product of that. because we spent 20 years running a hate campaign against LeBron James because he dared to be as great as Michael Jordan. Everything he does is under a microscope, and we've applied that to basically the entire league. We've said nothing matters. Winning an MVP doesn't matter unless you win in the playoffs. We've said that about Joel Embiid. We've said it. Jason Tatum, earlier this week, said that he doesn't get MVP consideration because of his performance in the finals. I think that's true. That media members look at how he performed in the finals. He didn't play badly, but he didn't play great either. In a finals that his team was up 2-1, he didn't play well enough to win the series, and they hold that against him. I 100% believe that, because that's how the media works. That's how we work. That's how fans view the league. Nothing matters unless you win in the finals or win in the playoffs consistently, and that is a really big problem. The players have followed suit. It makes sense why they load manage, because why am I killing myself to play 82 games and then I break down at the end, and then you're going to blame me for not playing well in the playoffs? Why would I do that? It makes sense why the All-Star game is no longer as great, because, I mean, when have we really given any weight to the All-Star game? It's weird all of a sudden everyone gets super outraged about the All-Star game. It's never been that big of a deal. It's never been that big it's nothing we talk about past this weekend. I understand it's slow right now. There's no NFL. Baseball is just starting, spring training soon. And the NBA is in a break. There's no games. So we have to kind of make up stuff to say. But, it was never this big of a thing. The All-Star game is fun. It's supposed to be fun. And now if you think it's not fun, I get that. I understand that, but I do think there's a lot of people that maybe do enjoy it. I enjoyed it. But does that mean it's perfect? No, of course not. But I think we just have to, maintain perspective. This is just a fun game that's meaningless at the end of the day. There's no meaning to this game. It's just a fun thing that the NBA does. And now they used to play hard, and that's just how it was back then. It was just a different mentality, a different league. But you can't force it on a new generation just because that's what you want. Now, if they're unhappy about it, which by the quotes it sounds like they are, but I mean, they're the ones out there at the end of the day. If they're unhappy about it, they will change it. But I don't understand why every year people who hate the All-Star game continue to watch it just so they could get on the internet and be mad about it. I mean, what are you doing? Do you like the NBA or not? If you don't like the All-Star game, why are you watching it? If I didn't like it, I wouldn't watch it. I like it. I watched the entire thing, start to finish. I smiled. There was some fun moments. Luka, trying to throw himself an alley-oop and he got stuffed by the rim. That was funny. Anthony Edwards and Cat, trying to get each other to shoot a shot. Cat was going off. Cat showed all his skills, trying to remind everyone that, he's still a really elite player. Curry with his crazy shooting. Damian Lillard hit 2 half-court shots. Jaylen Brown, even, after his embarrassing performance in the dunk contest, trying to show everyone he's still an elite player. LeBron, in his 20th appearance in the All-Star game. I skipped over this earlier, so I got to get back to it. I didn't talk about the dunk contest. The dunk contest is dead. It's dead. It's over. It's not because of what happened this weekend. It's not because of Jaylen Brown's bad dunks. It's not because G Leaguer won it for the second year in a row. All respect to Mac McClung. He's a crazy dunker. He has been since high school. That's not why it's dead. It's dead because it's outside of a couple years in its entirety has never been great. It never has been. The first couple years of its inception, it was great. You had guys do it. Dr. J, obviously, Jordan, Dominique. You had guys do it. And then once you got into the 90s, prominent players stopped doing it. I know the popular narrative is that all of a sudden now All-Stars don't do it. All-Stars have never done it for the vast majority of these contests. Think of the best dunk contest in memory. Vince Carter obviously is one, but previous to that, there was no prominent dunk contest since Michael Jordan and Dominique, and that was in the late 80s. There was no great dunk contest in the 90s. They sucked. They had to change the format every year. Even Kobe, even after he won it, there was no dunk contest in 98 because no one wanted to do it. This is not a new thing. The media makes it seem like this is new, and they're blaming LeBron for it as if that makes any sense. I understand the sentiment. we wanted LeBron to do the dunk contest 15 years ago in his athletic prime. We wanted that. Everyone wanted that. And, he kind of made it worse by that year. He said he was going to do it the next year, and then he ended up not doing it. I understand. But there's a lot of reasons why he didn't do it. He didn't do it, one, because he has nothing to gain by doing it. He has nothing to gain by doing it. He really doesn't. You could say he does, but he didn't. He's held to a different standard. No one would have cared if he won the dunk contest. They would have said, of course he won it. But if he lost, we would have literally held it against him for his entire career, like we do every little failure he's had. And if you really want to know what the dunk contest would look like when he did it, look at his high school one. He didn't do anything spectacular. He didn't. And the dunk contest now, you have to literally jump through flaming hoops. You have to do something ridiculous to even get a 50. And that is why the dunk contest is dead, because no one, after Aaron Gordon was robbed for doing dunks that no one ever seen, no one wants to do it anymore. And I don't know why it's always all-stars don't do it, as if there's a plethora of all-stars that are ridiculous dunkers. Edwards, okay, that's one. He doesn't do creative dunks, but he's a good dunker, okay. Ja Morant can jump really high. He could probably do some creative dunks. Zion does not jump as high as he did in Duke. Everyone has that image of Zion being this crazy dunker. He doesn't jump as high as he did at Duke. I bet there's a lot of dunks that he may have done in high school and or Duke that he can't do anymore because just his, what he is physically now. Other than those three guys, who else do you want? That's an all-star. That's a great dunker. There isn't one. We just saw this weekend. Jaylen Brown's an all-star. He did the dunk contest and everyone crapped on his performance. It was a bad performance, don't get me wrong. But that's exactly, it's funny. Like, you're like, oh, why don't all-stars do it? We want all-stars to do it. An all-star just did it, and you shredded him alive for it. Why would I do it? If I'm an all-star, and all I can do is, some nice dunks, I'm not putting it through my legs, I'm not putting it behind my back, I'm not putting it under my legs, I'm not doing something crazy. I'm not doing a 720 dunk. Like, if I can't do none of those things, you're not going to win the contest. And what value is it having all-stars in the dunk contest if they can't even do those dunks that would give them a winning performance? I actually have here all-stars in the dunk contest. Since it's all of a sudden this new revelation that all-stars don't do the dunk contest. So obviously the first couple years of the dunk contest, you had Julius Erving, Dr. J do it. Then you had Jordan going against Drexler and Wilkins. That was in Dominique. That was in '88. Obviously, that was big. But then in 1991, down all the way to 1998, there was not a single all-star that did this dunk contest. Shawn Kemp did it. I don't believe he was an all-star this season. He did it, but he's been an all-star in his career. Not a single one did it for almost 10 straight seasons. And like I mentioned earlier, it was so bad in 97, which was the one Kobe won, that they didn't have it in 98, and then they didn't have it again in 99 because of the lockout. So this notion that all-stars used to do it and don't do it anymore is false. 2000, obviously, you had Vince Carter and Jerry Stackhouse do it. That's obviously one of the most famous dunk contests. But after that, for 5 straight years, we had just Steve Francis be the only all-star to do it. Stoudemire did it in 2005. No one in 2006. We had a few years with Dwight Howard, but those aren't just prominent because of Dwight Howard, but also because of Nate Robinson and him being 5'9", beating Dwight Howard in a dunk contest. That's why we remember that. 2011, Blake Griffin did it. He won, obviously, but if you look back at the dunk contest, it wasn't anything special. He did jump over the hood of the car, which was cool, but he just did a two-hand dunk. Wasn't anything crazy. 2014, do you remember the 2014 dunk contest? Probably not. John Wall, Paul George, and Damian Lillard all did it. John Wall ended up winning. But is it memorable? Is it a memorable all-star game? No, it's not. I don't remember that dunk contest. I was 15 years old. I don't remember it. But John Wall won. It was I guess, good dunk contest, right? Then we had Drummond in 2016, DeAndre Jordan in 2017, Victor Oladipo in 2018, and then we haven't had one since then until this season. We had Jaylen Brown. So it is an issue, but it's been an issue for the entirety of the contest, and that's why you've seen so many different iterations, so many different formats. For a couple years they spun a wheel to decide what dunk you had to do. Yeah, during the summer. NBA TV shows the dunk contest of previously. They go through all of them. They start from the inception, and they literally a day or two. They'll show every single good dunk contest in history. One day, just sit and watch them like I did as a kid. I sat and watched a lot of dunk contests as a kid. A lot of them sucked. Like the Jason Richardson ones were good. Obviously Vince Carter. Obviously the Jordan and Dominique ones were great. And obviously the Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine ones were great. But look, that's probably one of the best dunk contests we've ever got. Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine were not all-stars. Zach LaVine eventually was an all-star, I think, twice. But Aaron Gordon's never been an all-star. They weren't all-stars that season. It has nothing to do with whether all-stars do it or not. Sure, it'll get you to sit down and watch it, but it doesn't ensure that we'll have a great dunk contest. You need guys who can do the dunks that people want to see, and that's really, really difficult. There's not a lot of guys in the NBA that can dunk like that. Going through the legs and behind the back and doing just crazy stuff in the air. Not a lot of guys. So it takes a ridiculous amount of creativity, and that's the difficulty and why the All-Stars don't bother doing it. And there's just nothing to gain from doing it. If they win it, cool. Like, it's nothing we look back on. It's nothing that we, give them super credit for. We don't give them credit for anything anymore unless they win the title at the end of the season. And that's become one of the major issues in how we cover the NBA and why all the discourse surrounding the NBA is always so negative and so toxic. We just constantly tear down players for not living up to the expectations that we put on them arbitrarily. Is there a way to fix All-Star Weekend? I don't think so. I don't think there's a way to fix it unless the players are just going to have to fix it themselves. They're going to have to take it upon themselves. Or you go the Pro Bowl route and you just completely scrap the game altogether and replace it with something else. I've heard people talk about a 1v1 tournament. I highly doubt the top players in the league would subject themselves to losing one-on-one to a player on national television. I mean, who knows? It's just not good for the brand. But obviously that'd be really fun if they did it. If they did like a 3-on-3 tournament, maybe a 2-on-2 tournament, something different. Possibly that's what we're gonna have to look for, something different. Because as it is right now, it's not going to work. Now, I'm interested to see maybe because of all the outrage and all the negative attention it's gotten this year, if it flips next year. But if it's good next year, there's no guarantee it'll be good the year after that or year after that. That's kind of the state of the All-Star game. Whether you're new or old, be sure to like, share the video, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel at True Hoops for more basketball content.